Oops. Hey everybody, it's Nia. Welcome to my first live broadcast in a pretty long time. Today I'm going to be talking about storytelling, and because I'm Muslim, I'm going to be talking about storytelling from a Muslim perspective. Welcome. Welcome to the broadcast. Hey, so it's been an adventure. I spent most of the day running errands and ended up at the Grove, and I got stuck in traffic, and so now here I am. For all of you guys out there watching who don't know me, my name is Nia Malika Dixon. I'm an independent writer, director, producer here in Los Angeles. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland, and I'm a Black Muslim woman. And the reason why I started Outdass Entertainment was because I wanted stories that were reflective of our experience as Black Muslim people on television and in films, and I wasn't seeing that. And so that's why I decided to make the big move from Baltimore to LA back in 2005. And I have made it my life's work to put out there those stories that are very reflective of an authentic Black Muslim American experience. And the cool thing about being a Muslim is that it's a global experience. So there are so many things that everybody around the world can relate to when experiencing our stories. And so it's a win-win situation. So let me just jump right into it. As a storyteller, growing up, I loved watching film and TV, like E.T. and, all the things that came out back in the 80s. However, if you grew up like me, you never really saw yourself reflected in those films, or if for that matter in books and in comic books. I actually used to be a comic nerd, and I loved reading comics, especially Marvel. And believe it or not, there's nobody who looks like us. And fast forward to now, there's a lot more effort to put out the content that's more reflective of our experience. However, 15 years in the business here in LA has shown me that diversity and inclusion is not sustainable the way that Hollywood has it set up. And so I encourage a lot of creatives to do what I did and just get out there and make your own content. So why should we, as an audience, read, watch, view, experience stories about Black Muslim people? And that's really what I wanted to talk to you about today. And I'm hoping more people jump on so that we can talk more about the Black Muslim experience here in America, because it's universal. As a part of the Black experience, we experience the same thing as Muslims that Black people in America experience. There's an added degree to it because of Islamophobia. But if you're like us, you get used to living in a world where people don't expect, where you are not expected to be as great as you are. And so that's part of what I wanted to talk about too, because in storytelling, we have the opportunity to flip that narrative. We have the opportunity to change what is perpetuated about who we are. And as evident in watching Black Panther, you can see how important it is for authentic representation to exist. And so today I want to ask you, why do you like stories? Why do you watch film? Why do you like TV shows? Why do you read books? And part of the reason, honestly, the reason why I do when I was a kid was to escape, but also because my mother was like, she was very forward thinking, and so she was able to put those books in front of me that reflected a true Black American experience. Books by Gwendolyn Brooks, John Steptoe, Mildred Taylor, and when I got a little older, Alice Walker and Toni Morrison. And so I'm excited because now this current generation has more stories that they can read and watch that are more reflective of the Black American experience. But also, there are a lot of Muslim creatives out there, and this video is for you. I want you to keep up doing what you're doing, because why we tell stories is so that we can make meaning of our experiences, so that we can affirm our identity, so that we can reiterate how great we really are, to uplift and inspire, to instill joy. You know, a lot of what black content creators are being encouraged to create are trauma porn. You know, our struggle, you know, how far we've come to accomplish um, that spot on the team or whatever. And that's not necessarily the only story that we have. You know, we have stories of joy, we have stories of uplifting. And so those are the kinds of stories that, like Black Panther, that I would love for us to talk about and for us to see. And they not necessarily have to be by Black Muslim people. They can be by Black people. You know, like I said, our experience is universal here as Black people. Another thing that is really important to me when it comes to storytelling is making sure that your voice is heard. So whether you're a Black Muslim woman from Philly or a Black Muslim woman from Minneapolis, your voice should be heard in stories. You know, your experience should be validated in stories. Whether that's reading a story about church ladies by Philly author Deesha Philyaw, I think that's how you say her last name, Philyaw. Or whether you're reading a story called Hannah Khan Carries On about a Muslim American. All these stories should validate your experience because that's what storytelling is for. When let's say, for example, somebody watches Stranger Things, they're looking for a validation of their experience as a young person, as somebody who grew up in the 80s, as somebody who's suspicious of the government. You know, those kinds of things are what we want to see in our stories. And they're also affirming of our identity that we do belong here, you know. So that's why we tell our stories. And what do those stories tell us? What are these stories telling about us? Well, if you watch Waiting to Exhale, that movie was very inspiring because it tells the women who watch it, you don't have to settle for a sorry, no good, you know who. You can move on with your life. You can get a divorce and find happiness. Other stories like The Secret Life of Bees or, I don't know, a better version of a coming of age story would be Stella in the Spades. So if you watch Stella in the Spades, or Jen for that matter, you can see that your experience as a teenage Black girl in America is just as valid, whether it's going to a wealthy boarding school or whether it's becoming Muslim and going to your first Jummah. You know, so like, for example, when you watch a film or a TV show, what are you looking for it to tell you about yourself? Think about that. So when we pick these stories, what we believe, what we desire for ourselves, those are the things that come up. Those are the things that inform us who we are when we write stories. Like, for example, how you celebrate, how you grieve, you know. And if you're a Black Muslim person and you see a film where there's a family celebrating and you don't get to see the stuff that you do as a Black Muslim person, you don't feel like this story is for you. And so these are the kinds of stories that I want us to have. Like a story that shows a Black Muslim girl getting ready for Eid, you know, looking fly on Eid and going to the internet and going to IHOP for breakfast after Eid prayer. You know, that's a tradition. That's something that we do as Black Muslim people that should naturally come up in our stories, you know. And that kind of stuff is not evident right now. And that's why we, as Black Muslim creatives, need to create these stories to reaffirm what we know about ourselves and to share that with everybody else. And a lot of people like to bring up the fact that as Muslims, it's not our priority. Entertainment is not our priority. Well, guess what? Storytelling is your priority. When you read the Quran this Ramadan, which starts next week, you're going to be reading a lot of stories that Allah has told us. And through those stories, we as Muslims, we make meaning. We validate our lives. We see what we want for ourselves. And we're also reminded we're human, you know. So storytelling is not necessarily frivolous. It's something that's spiritually important, as evidenced in the Quran. And I challenge everybody out there who's Muslim during Ramadan to find some stories that are very relevant to you and your family and use those to help you reflect on this past year or Going back to what we talked about a few minutes ago, how you celebrate, how you grieve, how you work, and how you play. And is that reflective of what Allah wants us to do in the Quran? So, like, these are the kinds of things that I really take responsibility for when I'm telling stories, and the content that I create. And I challenge other content creators to do the same thing. It's what I call responsible storytelling. So, today was like my first time jumping back into this because I used to do a regular broadcast with Create Your Own Content back in 2016, and that led into more workshops that I taught in person. And what my goal is to teach some more content classes, getting back into CYOC because I recently had a meeting with an amazing group of women at Rise Sisterhood about supporting filmmakers. And one of the members of the meeting had brought up the question of, hey, have you ever really done any speaking engagements and shared your knowledge and, experience? And I thought about that. And I said, I used to, so why not do that again? So this is my first jump into it. I haven't been doing this since, it's been a good long time. But I'm looking forward to doing more. We also host free screenwriting workshops for Black Muslim women, which we did our inaugural round of it last year, and we will be doing that again here in 2021. So look for that. I'll be making an announcement from this account, and look for more content from Audace Entertainment. I was doing the Clubhouse conversation every week, which we're still going to do, but I really encourage you to hop on every Wednesday for Fresh, because I'm going to be talking more about story, how to create stories, giving you some tips about your storytelling, as well as some opportunities for some free giveaways. So join in the conversation. And I don't like to do talking head. I really want to do some interactive talking. So I hope I get more people on, and share this out with other people and let them know. Next Wednesday, we're going to be back on here to talk more about storytelling. And before we do end this conversation, I want to challenge you to take a look at what you watch. Take a step back and think about why you like the shows that you like. What is that story telling you about yourself? And think about how storytelling can help you strengthen yourself spiritually, because it's going to be Ramadan next month. And for 30 days, I'm going to be talking a lot about spirituality. And for us as Muslims, Ramadan is sacred. But it's also, for me, a merging of two sacred things. I believe that storytelling is sacred because, like I said earlier, because we make meaning from it. We make connections with our community with it, and we reaffirm our identity with it. And honestly, my favorite ayah, which I kind of live by, is that God made us in different nations and tribes so that we can learn from one another. And to me, that is storytelling. You tell your experience, you share your experience with other people, and that's how you learn and you build relationships and you grow. And so join me. We're going to talk more about that. And this was just my way of sharing storytelling and giving you like a little tease about what we're going to be talking about in the weeks to come. So if you are a creative person, if you are a Black Muslim creative, if you're a Black Muslim girl, a Black Muslim woman, join me every Wednesday for Fresh. We're going to talk more about storytelling and you. All right, thank you so much. I'm going to close out this broadcast, and I encourage you all to join me next Wednesday, same time, 6 p.m. Pacific time. And trust me, next time I won't be late. I won't be stuck in traffic. And I will see you guys on the next broadcast. And follow us on Twitter as well at AUDAZENT. I'll see you soon. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.